Click for IB Biology. Here we're dealing with the evolution of multicellularity in organisms. There's a blank PDF of this presentation down in the description, and there you'll find 10 questions and their answers so that you can check your understanding of this part of the course. So let's look at the timeline for the evolution of multicellularity. The origin of cellular life, according to fossil records shown in stromatolites, is 3.8 billion years ago. Then we have this period of time from 3.8 billion years ago up to about 2 billion years ago. So that's a period of 1.8 billion years in which life was largely considered to be prokaryotic, and before eukaryotic life forms began to evolve. So this move from the rather comparatively anyway simple form of the prokaryotic life and then going into eukaryotic life is dealt with under a hypothesis which is known as Endosymbiont Theory, and that is the subject of our next video. But we're going to move on from that event to approximately 1 billion years ago and the evolution of the red-green algae, which are multicellular organisms. In order to be multicellular, so if we have one red algae cell like this, if you're going to become multicellular, then you need to be actually adhering together. So there must have been the evolution of a system of cell membrane structures which allows you to adhere to one another. Now that we have an organism which is of multiple cells, we can have differentiation, which is to say specialization of the cells to particular functions. So some cells can become reproductive cells, others can become protective cells, others perhaps had food gathering functions. The multicellularity of living things appears to have had multiple origins, possibly separate in the plants, animals, and fungi. They often had different lines. It appears that they had different lines, multiple origin points for multicellularity. It wasn't a single event. The comparisons that are possible are not just in the fossil record, but in molecular genetics, comparative genetics, and of course, as I referred to earlier, endosymbiont theory. And that would take us up to approximately 500 million years ago, at which point we had a tremendous explosion and radiation in the different forms of multicellular life forms. This is known as the Cambrian Explosion, which is the radiation, but their origins were 500 million years earlier with the red-green algae. In the next video, we'll go on to look at this hypothesis known as endosymbiont theory about the origins of eukaryotic organisms. There's a link to the channel and of course to the playlist that you can consider subscribing to.